What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of GAG with Geach. I am your boy Geach. Listen, today we're going to talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta season 17, episode 3. Now, I'm starting off with episode 3 and I'm going to review the whole season. I ain't did episode 1 and 2 because, I got lazy, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And anyway, let's get us to episode 3. So, episode 3 starts out with K. Michelle. Y'all know I'm a horror rebel. I love some K. Michelle. Ain't gonna be no K. Michelle slander on this channel. We're not gonna do it. If you want to get down in the comments and gab about that, you could do that. But over the years, K. Michelle, she's been very vocal about a surgery she had, getting her booty done. Back when all the ass shots and all that was like a thing, and all the girls was getting it done. So K. Michelle, she got her bunkie done, and she say she went to perform or whatever, and it fell out. Like, she had multiple surgeries before to get all that silicone and stuff removed, but she also shared that it would never be fully removed, so it's still some leakage up in there. So she said, she went to perform, and basically her bunkie head fell out, her ass fell out, and, it led her to the hospital. And thankfully she all right. She, said, that happened to her, and she gonna recover from it and everything. She said some of the girls did reach out to her to check up on her, but anyway, we glad Kay doing okay, So then we get Drew. Drew goes over to Angela's house and they having a little chit chat. Angela, says, her daughter is here because Angela's daughter greeted Drew at the door and let her in. And so Angela and her daughter, they had their relationship was a little shaky for a little moment in time because Angela's daughter had ran off and basically eloped, got married without telling Angela. And also she had married a girl. So, it caused a little, riff-raff to their relationship because, her daughter decided she want to go eat cat. And ain't nothing wrong with that. If you want to lick your little kid, go lick it. But she ain't told her mama that she had got married, so I guess they kind of had a little moment where they was at a little disagreement with that. But now that her daughter's in the house, they reconnecting, they getting everything together, and she just glad to have her child. And she said, that just gonna make them closer. And all the time she was just trying to protect her baby, and yeah. So she chilling, Angela ain't tripping. Her daughter want to eat cat. She married a woman, and that's what that is. So then Drew basically was telling Angela how, like, basically she got mommy guilt because a lot of times she got to get back on the plane and go on set. Because I know Drew do a lot of Tubi movies and stuff like that, and that's no shade because a check is a check. Get your money, whether it's Tubi or whether it's on the big screen in the movie theaters and box office and all that. Baby, go ahead and get your money. Don't let nobody clown you about that. But she basically said she got mommy guilt because she always on the road working and stuff. And some things came out about Drew talking about Ralph got custody of them children because she wasn't taking them to school. But anyway, I'm sure that's going to come out later in the season, because it's all over the news and stuff right now in the streets of Atlanta. Y'all know I live in Atlanta. Angela, she discussed how she lost over $2 million of her own money trying to invest into real estate. Now, I know last season, which is Angela's first season, and she definitely became a fan favorite. We really enjoy Angela, watching her and stuff. But she said and on the last season, she was trying to flip all them houses, and I think she only sold like maybe 1 or 2, I think she said, and the other ones, basically she lost them. So lost $2 million of her own money. But she said, she bought another house and she just wanted to make a profit from it. She said she don't even care if she make $1, that's the profit. So, I think with losing her mama and stuff and, losing the houses, she want to get one win. And I think she's going to discuss that later on in the episode because I did watch it, but I had to rewatch it now so I can review it again, keep my memory fresh. So Portia plans basically like a spa day for, to get their feet done, and Cynthia joins, Phaedra comes, and of course K. Michelle comes, and basically K. Michelle, her husband, dropped her off, and he told her, you need to have your ass home healing, and she said, no, I'm finna go live life and do what I want to do. But anyway, they get in there and they sitting down, and K. Michelle basically was explaining to them what had happened to her, like with the, the fluid falling out of her bunkie. And then Portia made some ignorant comment talking about, did you have a miscarriage? And that obviously upset K. Michelle because, she was in the confessional saying, like, you dingbat, like, why would you say that? Like, are you trying to be shady or are you trying to be funny? Especially, like, we cool, we talk outside of these, like, what's going on with me. So why would you ask some dumbass question like that? Like, just like I know, you had some leakage in your titties because Porter got her, titties up to the moon, and they pretty and they look nice. So, And you know, she did tell the girls like she had like a suture or something was going on her titties, and she had some leakage. So K Michelle was like, "If you trying to throw shade, and especially like you shouldn't be saying like that, not like that, because we all know K want to have her baby. So why would you say a miscarriage?" Portia, like, that was the first thing that came out your mind. I'm kind of with K on that one. But anyway, they talked about it. And, you know, K Michelle was like, Portia was like, K, well, you look like $1,000,000. And, you know, Cynthia and Phaedra, they told her, like, she looked good, too. And then K, she had appreciated. She was like, I'm supposed to be fighting with y'all and y'all being nice to me. And Cynthia basically, no, we going to get to the fighting. But right now, you see, we need you to heal first. And then we get to reading down and doing all that other stuff. So then they get to talking about Kelly had a grand opening for her restaurant that she opened in Sandy Springs, her Nana Chicken and Waffles, which I went to that, by the way, and it was trash. I don't know if I'm going to insert the clips in this video. I may. But it was trash. The food was bland, and I could tell she rushed it. Me and my homeboy went to it, and it was garbage. You needed to close down because you rushed that, and I could tell you did that for the show, Kelly. I don't want you to fail. I want you to do as best you can, but you rushed that restaurant, and it should have never been open. The lady that you hired, she was ready to go. She told us that she was glad that we was her last customers because she had to go to her job to tie the mask. Like K Michelle was like, well, Portia, did you go to the restaurant? Because Phaedra said her and Cynthia went. And Portia was like, no. And then she was like, but I sent flowers. And of course, Kelly threw a little bit of shade. Like, she got the flowers, but the flowers is broken. You know, broken flowers from a broken person. And Portia like, you know, she got that little whack read in on me. But I'm done with it. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Like, that's how she want to feel. Let her feel like that. But K Michelle was like, you know, I really wish I could have come. I wanted to be there. But of course, K Michelle is a real celebrity. She a real star. She got shit going on. She can't be opening restaurants and going to little, you know, mixing the mingle with them all the time. Because unlike most of the girls on this show, she got real shit to do. So then we go over to Shamia. Her husband finally decided to film with her because, you know, I guess Bravo told her, listen, he gonna have to do something on the show. Even if it's just y'all filming together, we gonna have to go ahead and get you on up out of him because they want to see what the husband's got going on too. So they take their daughter off to school. So Shamia starts telling her husband like she decided to go on with the business because she want to open her, I think, like a rum company or have her own line or some type of rum or alcohol or something. And you know, her husband, he just like, yeah, you know, okay, like completely uninterested. He don't care about that, you know. And you know, she picking up the vibes or whatever, he don't care about that. Although he wants Shamia to have her own thing, he just really not interested in it. And she want to have her own thing outside of her husband because, you know, last season, which she showed how rich she was and, you know, how she was living and, you know, how much money her husband made. So not everybody looking like, oh, you only got this because of your husband. And okay, so you only got this because of your husband. That means you ain't marrying no bum ass nigga. Like, your husband supposed to take care of you. If you a lady and somebody tell you that, take that shit as a compliment. So then we get over to Pinky, and Pinky, she's going to meet with her lawyer. So everybody in Atlanta know Pinky getting sued left and right. And, you know, in this scene she did, she said, you know, lawsuits coming every which way. Like, they is suing the skin off her head. So her attorney basically told her, listen, you ain't the first one, you ain't gonna be the last. I work with a lot of people who got restaurants. So Pinky saying, you know, basically she got a file for bankruptcy. Now Pinky, I don't know how true it is, but word on the streets in Atlanta, they saying you ain't been paying them people. And let me tell you, Pinky had some nice restaurants. She had a restaurant here called Bar Vegan. I really enjoyed it. I've been there several times at Bar Vegan. It's closed now. It was in the Ponce City Market. I really enjoyed Bar Vegan. Now, that shit was overpriced because back when I used to drink, I used to go there when I used to drink, and it was $15, $16, $17 a pop for a cocktail. And you know, the food was pretty decent, but I did like the atmosphere. I like the vibe, you know, very classy. People used to go in there. It was a certain caliber of people that went in there. So she did some good jobs with her restaurants, you know, way better than what Kelly got going on. So I got to give Pinky that. You know, she says she's one of the most prominent black women entrepreneurs in the country, and she was able to build a $100 million brand. And we're proud of you for that, Pinky. But just learn how to pay them people. Go ahead and file for your bankruptcy, get that out the way so you can start over fresh, and hopefully you learn something from that. But pay them people. If it's true that you're not paying them people like everybody in Atlanta talk about and all the people that work with you are saying, you don't like to pay them people and you like to steal their money, pay them people next time. When you get a clean start, just go ahead and pay them people. So Cynthia, she meets up with K. Michelle and Pinky at Breakfast at Bonnie's. Now, if y'all never been to Breakfast at Bonnie's in Atlanta, it's some real good food. They got real good customer service. One of the very few places in Atlanta that got some good customer service and some good food. I had a good time the few times I went. Now, if you go to Breakfast at Bonnie's, you're gonna spend that coin. So don't go there expecting to, be on no strict budget. You're gonna spend some money at Breakfast at Bonnie's. Cynthia, she says, she glad she gets some one-on-one time with Pinky and K. Michelle, because, they the new girls in the group. And Cynthia said, she knew Pinky, but they never really spent no time together like that, pretty much basically through passing. And K. Michelle said, they sorority sisters, so, they kind of know each other. But now K. Michelle had some viral tweets, a few months ago when they was in the midst of filming this. And she was activated. And, she called one of the girls a dingbat. So come to find out, fast forward to this episode, she was talking about Portia was the dingbat, because earlier, like I told you, Portia had made a comment when K. Michelle said she had to go to surgery for her bunkie falling out. Portia made a comment, did you have a miscarriage? So K. Michelle was really bothered by that. So she got on Twitter and saying she activated. Basically, she don't bother nobody, but, she pop off if she needed to pop off. And she was like, why would this bimbo, that's what it was, a bimbo, basically say something like so. So all the girls in their confessional, they like, well, who she called a bimbo? And Phaedra was like, well, I'm very smart, and she definitely ain't calling me a bimbo. It's not me. And then Portia was like, girl, you were just in the hospital, now you activated, and you talking about somebody a bimbo? Like, what's going on? And then K. Michelle basically in her confessional, like, I've been tweeting like this for years, and I don't have to explain my tweets to nobody, bitch. I'm famous. Like I've been telling y'all, K. Michelle knows she's the only motherfucker on this show that's really famous, while everybody else pretending. So, Cynthia tells K, even though she said that, I do think it was innocent. I don't think she was trying to say that, talking about Portia. I don't think Portia was trying to ask about your miscarriage to be shady or, have any negative connotation towards it. I think she genuinely was asking. And we all know Portia don't think before she speaks sometime, but Cynthia was like, it basically was innocent. K. Michelle was like, well, let me ask you this, what's going on with Phaedra? Because every time we're around, all she do is giggle. Like, she don't really contribute much. She just giggling. So Drew meets the guy that she talking to, Black. She meets him at a restaurant. They basically talking, and he basically like, he basically want to be friends with benefits, and he been trying to get out. She like, no, you gonna stay in the friend zone, and they having a little date or whatever. And she like, he really been there for her and stuff. Girl, you gave that cat up to him. You already let him sniff that cat. He done played with it before. Stop trying to act like it ain't. But even though he's saying he want to be consistent, friends or friends with benefits, because you can't really do much, because she still got that man in her basement. So then we go over to Shamia. She's having a business meeting basically with some people out in Grenada that she wants to do her rum business with. And they going, and after her business partners going over all the prices and everything, they on FaceTime, got the people in Grenada and everything. Basically, she like, nah, I understand why my husband ain't really want much to do with this. He said like this type of business wasn't really that lucrative. Now I get it. So then we go over to Pinky, her husband, they having a date night, and, basically saying her husband been her best friend, and, they don't really get to have many date nights, and she glad they could spend some time together. She really want to tell her husband that she finna file for bankruptcy, but she was like, right now ain't the time to tell him. She just want to enjoy their dinner, and she's eventually going to tell him because, that's her baby, that's her best friend, and they love each other. But right now, she just want to enjoy the moment. But, sometimes, she said sometimes it does feel lonely to feel like you got to go through this by yourself. But Pinky, go ahead and tell that man, like, you should have been told him before you filed for bankruptcy. He live in Atlanta just like the rest of us. He see everything going on in the news and in the blogs and how you getting sued left and right. So you really ain't telling them nothing that the rest of us don't know. I mean, he's a business owner too, so he probably already know bankruptcy is probably your best bet. So the episode ends with K Michelle meeting Portia at Virgil's Gullah Geechee Kitchen. Now, you know, I've been to Virgil's a few times. I like to go support my people. Y'all know I'm Gullah Geechee. And K Michelle, she orders a Yellow Boy, which is a cocktail. You know, I think it's like tequila and some other stuff. When I used to drink, I used to get the Yellow Boy because, you know, I'm a Yellow Boy. And she ordered a Red Gal for Portia. And, you know, so Portia comes, they sit at the table. And Portia was just like, you know, I had to come because what is K Michelle mad about? And K Michelle was like, you gonna listen to me or you just gonna be on your phone? And she was like, oh, you know, got Portia ass together. You know, and K Michelle basically let Portia know you the bimbo I was talking about, because why would you make the miscarriage comment? I really felt uncomfortable about it, especially, you know, I'm trying to have a child. And then Portia was just like, listen, I'm the Martha Downs when it comes to the miscarriage stuff. I've had several. I know what it's like to wake up in a puddle of blood at home by myself. So I definitely wasn't trying to use that as a jab towards you. But anyway, they reconciled the differences, you know, they made up for it, and then the episode ends. So I'm glad they was able to do that. And we're going to see what next week holds. But anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in to Gag with the Geeks. Your boy Will, your favorite Gullah Geechee boy. And I will see y'all in the next review because I'm going to watch the next episode and I'm going to get these things out. So go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will holler at y'all in the next one. Geech out.